Hi, welcome back to Bakersfield College. Last time I showed you how to do a simple project schedule or Gantt chart using Excel. I'm going to take that same schedule and I'm going to redo it a little bit using a little more sophisticated methods in Excel. Let's take a look. Here's the schedule from last time, and I'm just going to delete all this. And I'll move my title up out of the way, and I'll get rid of this old formatting. Okay, first thing I want to put in project start date. And that was May 3rd, 2021. And I'm going to need to know the end date for each task. And I don't want to enter that manually. I want to have Excel do that for me. So the end date, real simple formula, equals start date plus the duration, and that gives me my end date. I'll just drag that formula down. And the nice thing about that is when something changes, such as let's say this duration changes from 35 to 27, I'll put in 27 and my end date updates automatically. If my start date changes, say 5/12/2021 for start date, my end date changes automatically. Okay, that's the first step. Now I need some timelines, and what I need is I want to display the weeks, but I also need the days. Even though I'm not going to be displaying the days, I need them in there so I can do some calculations with them. So here I'll put my first week, so that equals my start date. And I'm going to merge 7 columns together. That's 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There. I'll merge 7 columns together, and that'll be my first week. My second week, I need to make that equal my first week plus 7. There's my first 2 weeks. Now my first day equals project start, and subsequent days will equal the day before plus 1. And I'll drag that guy out. Okay, there's the start of my timeline. Now what I want to do is I want to put in a formula to say that if this cell is greater than my start date and less than or equal to my end date, then it will highlight that cell. So I'll put in a little formula, equals and E4 is greater than or equal to this guy, comma, E4 is less than or equal to my end date, I get true. Now I want to just drag this formula across and down, but before I do that, I need to lock in these cells so it always looks at my start, and these guys so it always looks at my end. So when I drag over to the right, I want it to keep that locked in. And also when I drag it down, I want to keep locked in at looking at this row. So to do that, I need to lock in my start and end date. So that would be B5. So I put a $sign before the B, $sign before the D, and that locks in those 2 cells. And then I also want to lock in my row 4 and row 4. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully that works. So these all came up as false because 510 is greater than 5.3, so it's false. Anyway, let's drag this over and see how it looks. Okay, so I got truths here, I got truths here, truths here. So it looks like the formula is working. Let's just do a random test. So 514 is greater than 512 and less than 522. So that's true. So it looks like it's working. Now I want to format these guys with conditional formatting. So I'll highlight them, click on conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and I'm looking for text that contains a T. Okay, so now all my trues get highlighted and my falses don't. And I'm going to do a couple more things. I don't want to see what's in these cells. All I want to see is the color of the bar. And here I don't want to see the days of the week because I only care about the weekdays. Or sorry, the weeks. And so I need to do two things now. I need to drag this whole chart out to September because our project goes till almost September. And I also need to shrink it down so I can see it. So first I'm going to drag it out. And maybe I'll zoom out a little bit. I'm going to drag out that first guy. And before I go too far, I want to check to make sure everything is staying correct. So looks like my formulas are all good and everything's looking just fine. So I'm going to try dragging out to a little ways more. And that went till end of June. So I'll keep going. And that is almost, I'll go one more week. Looks like it went more than 1 week. I don't need through December, so I'm going to go back and delete everything after September. Okay, looks like I don't want that. Okay, so my project's ending around here, but I'm going to leave a little extra in. Maybe I'll just go that far and get rid of these guys. Now everything seems to be working. I'm going to shrink all these columns down. So I'm going to highlight from E through the end. And I'm just going to guess at this. I'll right click and format column width. Right now it's 8.09. I'm going to try 2, see what that looks like. Well, that's a little better, but it's still much too wide. So I'm going to try 1. See how that works. Still a little bit too wide. I'll go 0.6. There. That's looking good there. This doesn't format very well, so I'm going to highlight that, right click on it, format cells, and I want to see maybe 14 March. That looks pretty good. Okay, it's almost good. Maybe I'll do a little bit of cleanup. And first I'll go to View, turn off my grid lines. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to highlight my chart and I'll put a border around it. And I'll put a thick border around the whole thing, and I might just put a line under that. And maybe I'll put a border on this. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. It basically looks the same as my previous one, but there's a couple of key differences. Notice here I've got a big white space. So I probably put my start date wrong there. Why don't I update this? Instead of 7/19, let's go 7/7. And that looks a little better. We've got a little gap, and then here I can take some time out of my schedule, so maybe I'll try 8/1. Oops, 20/21. It's even a little bit longer than I need. So this guy looks like ends around July 22nd. I'm going to try putting my paint at 7/23. Oh, that looks good. And then I'll put this at 7/25. Maybe 7/26. And I'll put this at 7/29. Okay. Now I've got some extra space in my schedule, which is okay, or I could just delete these guys and see if I keep my border. I lost my border, so I can just highlight this again and go to thick outside borders, and there's my project schedule. I can move things around a bit, and now if I have updates, say this is only 12 days, I type in my 12 and my bar updates automatically. So it's pretty good. It's everything on this side is linked to the data I enter. I don't have to mess around with this anymore unless I need to expand my chart a little bit. The one thing that doesn't work very nicely is these guys are not linked together. So when I update, say construction, if I decide that that's going to take 22 days, then it puts a longer bar in, but it doesn't update these guys. So I'll have to go in manually and fix that. But it's still working a lot nicer than the way it was before. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks.